Hey guys, what's up? Plastic Guy here, coming back with another figure review where today we're taking a look at this knockoff ToyBiz Spider-Man Classics McFarlane SpiderMan figure. So recently on the channel we took a look at my knockoff PlayStation Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure, and it was a good knockoff. We've also been taking a look at a lot of ToyBiz figures, and I made a ToyBiz Spider-Man collection video. In that video I was talking about how much I loved the look of the ToyBiz Spider-Man figures and how the McFarlane superposable Spidey was on my grail list. I've had my eye out for a McFarlane Spidey for the longest time now, and there's just none popping up on eBay, and when they do they're over £200, which is just a crazy amount of money. I knew there was fakes out there and I've seen a couple on eBay, but to be honest they looked really bad and folk were wanting over £40 for them, which is so much money, especially for a replica figure. Then the other week I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across a picture that showed a kind of weird looking McFarlane Spidey, but it looked a lot better than the ones I'd seen on eBay, and in the description the guy was saying that he picked up this knockoff Spidey on AliExpress. I've never been on AliExpress before, but it intrigued me and I hopped on over there and there was loads of fake McFarlane ToyBiz Spider-Man figures for £14. I thought I had to pick one up. I mean, £14 isn't bad at all. If it's rubbish, I can make a video of it and show how it's rubbish, and if it's good, then great, I've got an awesome McFarlane Spidey in the collection. So he's arrived the other day, I've been playing around with him, and it's time to take a closer look at him. So let's not wait any longer, let's take a closer look at this replica ToyBiz Spider-Man Classics knockoff Spidey. So before we take a closer look at this head sculpt, I will say one thing. When I opened this guy up, he just came in a wee envelope. He had no paint on the chest logo, and I just went in there with a black Sharpie, and I know it looks like I've done a really bad job, but there was black ink splotches all over already, which we will see in a second. So yeah, I didn't actually smear it all over, that's just some existing black paint, but there was no black ink on that chest logo, and I did really want to bring that chest logo to life, and yeah, it looks a lot better than it did in my opinion. But let's take a closer look at the head sculpt first. And I think this head sculpt looks pretty good. As I said, I've seen some pictures of knockoff McFarlanes in the past, and there's like no black paint around the lenses. They look a bit wonky. I think this looks alright. I don't think it looks bad at all. It definitely looks a wee bit different from the legit version, but not by much. Yeah, I'll see if I can put a side by side here and we can sort of compare. I wish I had the real figure in hand, but it might be a long time before that's a reality. I do really like the sculpted webbing we can see all over the rest of the head sculpt, and the body for that matter, which we'll get to, but turning them around, you can see what I was talking about with the splotchy black ink. That looks insane. Like, what has happened here? I really don't understand. And we can see it doesn't go on to the butterfly joint area or the arms. It's just kind of in the main body area, and it's at its worst at the back of the neck and the back here. Yeah, no idea what's going on because there's a severe lack of black ink in the likes of the hands, the arms, the legs and everything. And it's just all splotched up here, and that's probably one of the biggest downfalls of this figure. But it does look really nice sculpt wise. We can see the sculpted webbing is going throughout the body. And as I turn them around, we get to the other biggest flaw in my opinion, which is the red paint on the arm. It is just severely lacking. It's faded. It's not solid at all, and it really lets this knockoff down. Definitely going to be one of the biggest telltale signs in determining if this is a knockoff or the real version. And yeah, I mean, you'd tell straight away, and it sucks when you're taking photos and things of this figure. There's just not enough red here, and it's such a letdown because we can see the sculpt is held up behind that really faded, weak red. Yeah, the arms are okay. All the joints are a bit loose in the arms. The joints are really stiff and tight in the leg area here. I'm really impressed. When we get to the ankle, it loosens off a bit, and in the arms, it is a wee bit looser. but it's good enough. It just feels like a figure that you've played around with for a couple years, but it's not loose, but it's not super tight either. The legs are really good though, I have to say. But yeah, the fingers are pretty loosey-goosey. That's definitely something I've noticed, but the sculpt's pretty much held up until it gets to the fingers. It looks dead weird, a bit wonky, and I don't know what it looks 100% on the original, but yeah, you can definitely see it on this knockoff. Going to the body area, once again, it looks pretty good, I think. As I said, I had to touch up the black on the chest logo. There was none when I took him out the packaging. But the sculpted webbings there in the black doesn't seem too bad. You can see it is still a wee bit splotchy, especially at the lower neck, but definitely not as bad as the back of the figure. So I'm glad all the bad splotches is on the back and you're not going to see it as much. Nice sculpted webbing in the ab area, and then you get to the waist. Kind of same problem with this arm as the last, just lack of red on the arm, and the fingers do look a wee bit better on this hand here. Got good red going around the waist there. The spider logo looks great. Yeah, the back logo looks absolutely fine. Legs are really nicely sculpted. I do think the original, there's a bit of a black wash going over the full figure, and there doesn't really seem to be any paint apps on the legs here. It's just this base blue, and I think it looks really good. The sculpt looks really nice, but there is no added paint, which I believe I've seen on the original version, but maybe I'm making that up. And then when we get to the feet, kind of same issue as the hands. It looks alright for the most part, but when I was posing this guy around and taking pictures, the feet did just look a wee bit dodgy, bit flipperish, but I suppose the original might be like that as well. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Maybe it's just when you get to the toe articulation or something. But yeah, on camera right now, they look not bad at all. Once again, maybe a lack of paint, but the sculpt's there. I do like all the sculpted webbing all over. Let's compare this ToyBiz or ToyBiz Spidey to some others in the collection. And so here we have our replica McFarlane ToyBiz figure next to the knockoff PlayStation Marvel Legends Spidey. And I think this is a much better quality of knockoff. You really have to get up close and personal with this guy to really see the telltale signs that it is a replica. Whereas this one, you can kind of just tell straight away. The sculpt's a wee bit off, the paint's definitely not up to scratch. Both are really good, especially for those cheaper knockoff prices, but in terms of replicas, this one is of better quality. And so here is our replica McFarlane Spider-Man next to the ToyBiz Shoot and Trap Spider-Man, and I featured this figure in my ToyBiz Spider-Man collection video, and I've also posted a lot of pictures of him up on Instagram because I love this figure. I love the look of him, and I did refer to him as a McFarlane Spider-Man. I've seen a lot of people say that he is a McFarlane Spidey. I've seen a lot of people argue that it's an Ultimate Spider-Man, and I think he can pass as both. I think the proportions of this figure definitely looks more like an Ultimate Spidey, but the head sculpt screams McFarlane to me, and yeah, I definitely think it could pass as both. In my ToyBiz Spider-Man collection video, I really praised this figure. I mean, we can see right now that the articulation sucks, but the sculpt is so nice. I love the look of this figure. And I even said I probably preferred the look of him over the superposable McFarlane Spider-Man. And even though this isn't the real one, comparing them side by side, I don't know, I think I do still prefer the look of this guy. But this figure has been so much fun to play around with. I mean, he is superposable, he has that articulation which this figure severely lacks. And of course I'm always going to go for the real ToyBiz over the fake. But let's say this was the real McFarlane Spider-Man. Oh, I don't know, I think this one would maybe take it. And then we have our knockoff Spidey next to the ToyBiz Sinister Six Spider-Man. Both unique looks to the character, but both fantastic figures, well, pretending that this is the real version. The articulation is insane on both of these figures, the sculpts are great, and that's what I love about ToyBiz, just the variety of Spider-Man figures they gave us, all with different articulation, different sculpts. It's great, and yeah, I wish this was the real version, but once again, it's the fake one, and the Sinister Six is going to trump the knockoff. If it was real, however, it is just going to come down to what look of Spider-Man you're more fond of. So to run over the articulation of Spider-Man here, we can get his head looking about that far up, about that far in at the body. You can move that left and right, and yeah, it doesn't pivot or anything. It looks like it's on a disc hinge. We can get the arm moving about that far up, and I'm not going to force anything here with it being a knockoff. I am very aware that it's probably going to break on me at some point. So the arm's going to move about that far up, goes really far in at the body. You can get that backwards and forwards. He does have this sort of butterfly joint up here, and it is really good to get the arm close down at the body, but it doesn't move back too much. Yeah, you can see that there. We get an upper bicep swivel, which is pretty loose, double jointed elbow there. It will move round at the forearm, get the wrist moving backwards and forwards, and the individual fingers will move as well. Same articulation in this arm. The butterfly joint is a bit easier to move around on this arm, and yeah, you can't really get it moving much further up than the other, however. It has a great ab crunch about that far forward, about that far back, and you can move them round at the waist as well. When we get to the legs, the joints stiffen up a lot, which obviously I prefer. However, once again, I'm still aware that it could snap with it being a cheaper plastic. I'm assuming than the legit one. Because it's a knockoff, you just have to kind of assume that it's cheaper made, so it might break. But we can get the leg moving about that far forward. Let's see, about that far back, get it kicking right out. He does have an upper thigh cut, double jointed knees, move it round at the calf, get the foot moving backwards and forward. There's no pivot, but we do get toe articulation as well. So really good articulation on this knockoff. As I've mentioned, I've been playing around with them the last couple of days. I've taken a lot of photos with them, got them in some great Spidey poses. I'm pretty happy with the articulation. And so there we have it for our knockoff ToyBiz Spider-Man Classics McFarlane SpiderMan, or J. Scott Campbell Spider-Man as he also gets referred to. And I think this is a good knockoff. As I mentioned, I only spent £14 on this figure, and for £14, I really can't complain. I mean, that is pretty cheap for an action figure. If I spent any more, if I spent around 22, which is the retail Marvel Legends price, yeah, I'd be a bit more irked. As I mentioned, the joints could be a bit tighter in places. The paint on the side of the arm is pretty bad. There was no paint on the chest logo. I had to go in with the Sharpie and touch that up. Just these wee things that wouldn't really make it as good as it is. But because it was £14, I can't really fault it. It is good. The sculpt's there. It is just slacking in certain areas. In the video that I posted of the knockoff PlayStation Spider-Man Marvel Legends figure, I wasn't really sure what I thought about picking up replica figures, and I have thought about it a wee bit more, and I definitely think that at any chance you can get to get the legitimate figure that's not going to break the bank, of course, you know, go for it. And the originators of the figures are like the original artists. They're the ones that have produced the figure, painted it, and you need to respect that. And of course, I do not really want to fill up my collection with replicas, knockoffs, whatever you want to call them. I want the legit versions. But when you get to a figure like this that's not produced anymore, and the only ones you can get are £200, and you do get a replica of it that's only going to cost you $14, then I think just go for it. But you just have to be open and honest about it. If you're posting pictures on Instagram, or if you're trying to sell the figure on eBay, you have to be open and say that it is a knockoff. And that is kind of where it gets a bit dodgy. If you're going through eBay and you see a figure and it's a high price and you know there's lots of knockoffs of them, you're a bit apprehensive. You don't know whether to pick it up. And I'm happy with this McFarlane Spider-Man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. While you're down there, if you could do me a massive favour, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'll leave the link to my Instagram in the description below, where there's going to be plenty of pictures of this guy up on there. And feel free to hop on over to the channel page as well and check out any of my other videos. I will have another knockoff figure video coming very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for watching this video right here, and as always, I'll catch yous on the flip-flop later. Cheers.